Flacco looked sharp.
Hey, listen.
Didn't he? He looked off, in a preseason game, looked off as safety for that touchdown to Harold Fannin.
I'm not supposed to root for anything, but there is a part of me that's kind of rooting for the Browns to win week 1 just so that the morning boys can just do 4 hours of Super Bowl Super Browns.
For sure.
Like, fans will be making their vacation plans to Santa Clara in mid-February if they beat the Bengals.
Flacco looked good. It really
and Joe Flacco plays well.
Dude, and that really is the wild card of this entire season, is that if Joe Flacco plays well, we did so much talking when the schedule was released this spring about how difficult those first 6 games were. But if Joe Flacco comes out and has you alive, has you in the hunt throughout 6 weeks, how do you make a quarterback change? We spent so much time talking about those first 6 games and how tough they are, and the fact that we'll probably see some of these other quarterbacks, whether it be Pickett, Gabriel, or Shador. The outlying scenario could be if Joe Flacco recreates the magic of 2023 and makes it impossible for the Browns to bench him.
I have a what if that just popped in my head.
What if they win? What if they win games? And you could see that we've spent so much time talking about the rookie QBs, and understandably, because they've drafted 2 of them, and because we hadn't seen Flacco in preseason action prior to yesterday.
Did you just say we haven't seen Flacco in prison?
In preseason action prior to yesterday. But he looked good. He looked like that same Joe Flacco that we saw in 2023 at his best.
What is amazing watching Joe, him throwing the ball is just so effortless.
It is.
It looks so effortless coming out of his hand. Thought just popped into my head. What if the Browns not only beat the Bengals in week 1, what if they go to Baltimore and they beat the Ravens? Because remember, That week 2 game for me is an absolute must win, because the Ravens are going to be doing their 30-year celebration in front of the Browns, which is a big old you-know-what to the Browns in the city of Cleveland, considering the history there and everything that took place with Art Modell stealing the team and taking it to Baltimore, where they ended up drafting like 25 Hall of Famers and winning 2 Super Bowls that should have been won here. Meanwhile, Cleveland got the most incompetent expansion franchise in history that can't get out of their own way to save their souls. That's stuck in quicksand. The harder they kick to get out of the mess that they're in, the deeper they sink. Some would argue we're still waiting for pro football to return. It was promised to us in 1999, and we're in 2025. And it is yet to return on a regular basis. We get once in a blue moon, you get a season to cling to. But when you look at the last 26 years or 26 seasons for this franchise, it's been an abomination. That's a must win. Like, they absolutely have to go to Baltimore and just beat the crap out of the Ravens.
Well, I mean, and they're laughing at you. They're laughing at our history and the biggest black eye that we have as Cleveland football history.
And they're going to rub your nose in it.
The team was stripped away from us, Daryl. And the fact that you have, then you look at the Browns locker room and you have the kryptonite. You have potentially, as long as we could get through week 1 against the Cincinnati Bengals, okay, Joe Flacco making his first ever career start against the Baltimore Ravens, the place that he won a Super Bowl MVP, and what a redemption story would that be? I need the Browns to start off hot and win week 1. And you look at that Bengals defense. If there was ever a defense for Flacco to shred and get back to that 2023 form, and to have our Cleveland Browns defense, and look at that front 4, by the way. Jim Schwartz has those guys humming. He's having fun. He's putting Carson Schlesinger at defensive tackle in the 3rd and final preseason game. You beat the Cincinnati Bengals week 1. I truly believe that the Cleveland Browns will. And you march into Baltimore in week 2 with their Super Bowl MVP, Joe Flacco, under center for us. It would be the sweetest revenge story in the NFL all season long. They stripped our team away.
Yeah, and they're going to rub your nose in it while in week 2, and it's going to be their parade of Hall of Famers. There's 2-time Super Bowl champs and all that. That's a must win for the Browns. I don't care what Kevin Stefanski has to do to get that locker room up for that game. They better go to Baltimore and win that game. Don't win a single game the rest of the year. You better go win that game in week 2.
I wonder how much of the history Kevin Stefanski and the coaching staff will get into that week. And these guys, these
you
coaching
want to know the
staffs,
honest truth?
Dude, these coaching staffs usually look for anything as bulletin board material, anything to get their troops rallied. There is no better and no bigger bulletin board material in all of the National Football League than one of the proudest, most historic franchises having their team ripped away from this passionate city and this passionate fan base of Browns fans to go to Baltimore, and they're doing their 30-year celebration against Cleveland in Baltimore. Like, it is the biggest sign of disrespect that we've seen in a really long time. And I hope Kevin Stefanski makes sure they're aware of that.
Wearing Oiler uniforms.
Like, I hope Kevin Stefanski makes sure the team knows, like, this one means a little bit more to, like, our fans.
Yeah.
Not a little bit more, a lot of bit more.
Yeah. Like, that, I don't care if they don't win a game the rest of the year. They better win week 2 in Baltimore. That is an absolute must-win. When I saw that post from the Ravens' social accounts, I was like, no, the Browns better go win that game.
Well,
I don't think they're going to win it, but they better go win it. I don't care how they do it. They better go to Baltimore, and they better ruin that celebration.
Well, can we get a little bit crazy here? I know we've
2-0. 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0.
So we just propped up that matchup, right? And what that would look like against the Ravens. Then you come back here to Cleveland and these rabid fans that haven't left, even though their team was stripped away from them, and you got to pack it home.
3-0, 3-0.
A home game in late September. Who's to say maybe the Packers aren't a little slow out of the gate? It's here in the friendly confines of Huntington Bank Field.
Who's in week 4?
Okay, then you go to Detroit.
4-0.
That's maybe where,
listen.
Where reality strikes.
Great Lakes Classic, Battle of the Barge, regular
weird
season
things happen.
edition.
Weird things could happen.
Just say it. Could be a big one.
It's so refreshing to have this preseason over because now you could seriously look at this thing with Joe Flacco as your starting quarterback and be really optimistic because while we've spent so much time rehashing these young QBs that will get in there at some point if things go south, you can't ignore the fact that Joe Flacco looked sharp again yesterday.
I know he did. I like what I saw from him. I did. Aside from the 2 atom balls that Dylan Gabriel threw that would have gotten someone killed in a normal game, I thought Dylan Gabriel ran things well too. I like what I saw in the first half. Did not like what I really saw there in the second half from Shedeur Sanders, but. Look, this doesn't define the kid's career. That doesn't mean he's going to be a bust. I don't even think Shedeur can be a bust at this point. He's a 5th-round pick. You're a 5th-round pick. You can't be a bust. I'm sorry. If he was a 1st or 2nd round, I'll even hear maybe a 3rd-round pick. I'll hear the B word, but I can't hear the B word when you're talking about a 5th-round pick. If he washes out, he washes out. Like, okay, whatever. And again, the Browns had no intention of drafting him. It was a why not type of a proposition for them. That's why he's here. And unlike you, I have no problem with Kevin Stefanski pulling the plug after 5 drives that went absolutely nowhere. 4 of them were 3-and-outs. Let's go, put Tyler Huntley out there. I want to look at Andre Schmidt, see if he can hit the game-winning field goal. Tyler Huntley's going to be the guy I know is going to get me in position to be able to do that. So I think that they're in as good a shape going into week 1 against the Cincinnati Bengals right now. Knock on wood.
Yep.
Need Denzel Ward to get healthy. Need Greg Newsome to be healthy. Need the rest of the football team to be healthy. But when I look at them going into week 1 against the Bengals, they're in pretty good shape, roster-wise. They're in pretty good shape.
I'm actually so encouraged by what I saw from Joe Flacco and from the starting offense in those couple of drives. And then if you're somebody out there that wasn't encouraged what you saw from the Browns defense and that defensive line, I quite literally don't know what you were watching. I really think that the Browns being in that big of an underdog as they are at home week 1 against the Bengals. Little bit disrespectful because you look at that Browns defensive line, there are just dudes on the entire unit. And the fact that Jim Schwartz is going to continue to do the substitution game where we're going to see all of those guys stand fresh throughout a game, it is reason to be optimistic that they've got a real fighting chance week 1.
Well, I kind of feel like the Bengals defense, being as bad as it is, basically evens the playing field with the Browns offense that's really not expected to do a whole lot this year, right? And so if offensively the Browns can come out firing on all cylinders and take advantage of what is a substandard Cincinnati defense and win that game, start 1-0, then that sets you up to go to Baltimore and do what I feel like is must win. You have to go to Baltimore and win that game. If there is a game that you absolutely under no circumstances can lose, it's week 2 in Baltimore. I don't care what Kevin Stefanski has to say to those guys to get them fired up to go into Baltimore and rip that one from the Ravens, but that's a game you absolutely have to win. You have to rain on their 30-year anniversary, rub it in Cleveland's nose that we have all these Hall of Famers we've drafted since stealing your team. We won 2 Super Bowls since stealing your team, and we're going to celebrate all of this in front of you. While knowing what you have had the last 26, 27 years, which has been absolute hot garbage, okay? You're on 40 starting quarterbacks. You've had 1 Hall of Famer that you drafted, and he was a left tackle. No disrespect to Joe, but like that's the most Cleveland Browns thing ever, that their Hall of Famer in the expansion era is a left tackle, okay? Who was not a skill position player, did not put points on the scoreboard. He did all he could to make himself available to help them try and win games, but like Joe couldn't run the ball, Joe couldn't throw the ball, Joe couldn't catch the ball. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not his fault that the team was as terrible as it was when he was here, and it just speaks to the greatness of him as a player that he was a first ballot Hall of Famer in spite of the fact that he was a Cleveland Brown for his 11-year career. But they absolutely have to go to Baltimore and win that game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Look, this is a transient league. Players really don't care about history. Now, when we ask them about them, they say all the right things. Oh, of course, we love Browns fans. We this, that, and the other. We care about the history, and we know the history. They don't know squat about the history, okay? I've interviewed players in that locker room over the years. They had no idea the Baltimore Ravens used to be the Cleveland Browns. They had no clue that used to be a thing, okay? They don't have any clue that the Browns and Steelers used to play some of the bloodiest knockdown, drag-out type of football games there ever been. They have no clue that John Elway ripped the Super Bowl dreams from the hearts of Browns fans back in the late 80s, not once, not twice, but 3 times. They have no clue that Bill Belichick used to coach the Cleveland Browns. They have no clue. I mean, they've heard of Jim Brown, okay? They may or may not have heard of Paul, but they really don't know and understand history the way that you, me, and fans expect them to.
You know what they know,
this is a piece of history they absolutely have to know, and they absolutely have to go to Baltimore and win this game in week 2.
You know what they know is that a big piece of Ravens history is right there on our sideline. A big piece of Ravens history is now under center for the Cleveland Browns, and that's their Super Bowl championship MVP quarterback, Joe Flacco, is here now. He's in Cleveland now. And I get that they have Lamar Jackson, multiple-time MVP, and the Browns defense is going to be tested. As excited as you are and I am about this defensive line, that's going to be a difficult game to win. You're probably a double-digit underdog going into that game. But the ultimate equalizer to me this entire Browns season remains if Joe Flacco could repeat some of that magic in 2023, he maybe could have effectively wasted all of our times. Daryl, every Sunday for the last how many Sundays, you and I have come in here for 4 hours talking about all of these quarterbacks and Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders trying to pinpoint when they can get on the field. But if he gets hot, they're not going to make a quarterback change. If the old man could stay healthy and stay upright, how do you take him off the field? And I'm a little nervous about the receiving group. I am. The running back room, we've detailed on this program, probably the worst in the league until Quinshon's situation gets figured out. And even then, he's missed an entire rookie mini camp and an entire training camp. It is going to be uphill sledding for the run game. But when Joe Flacco was here in 2023, how was the sweet music made? It was getting Amari Cooper the football. Now you've got Jerry Jeudy. And it was the tight ends. And you got David Njoku still, who was kind of Joe Flacco's guy. And Harold Fannin Jr. just seems like to be one of these rookies that everybody knows is going to make an immediate impact right away.
You got Njoku in the back of the room yesterday, chanting for Joe Flacco, right? I mean, we see it every day on the practice field. David will come off, and the other day, Joe's at the podium. David's walking by, and he's showing Flacco some love. Njoku's going to be engaged early in the season.
Yep.
Because he loves Joe Flacco.
Yep. And vice versa. I think Joe Flacco loves David.
So that is going to be the combination to watch early in the year. But you're right. I mean, he threw for 300 yards like 4 times in 5 weeks. And no Browns quarterback had ever done that before. That if there's ever a testimony to just how bad it's been, something that happens all the time around the NFL. People shrug their shoulders at that stat when I mention it to them nationwide. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, that's record-setting in Cleveland. That is groundbreaking in Cleveland when that happens. Because it's never happened here before. That's how bad quarterback play has been here. That a guy throws for 300 yards, that's like breaking news. It just doesn't.
Stop the presses.
The guy that they gave $230 million to couldn't throw for 200 yards in a game.
We were imploring. And that's what I'm saying. And that's why I'm so optimistic for this year and for this offense, even though there are some real questions. I'm optimistic because last year it was so bad. It quite literally, with Deshaun Watson, was unwatchable. Think back to that Washington game where he couldn't even get the play out, and Kevin Stefanski had burned 2 timeouts back to back. Like with Joe Flacco, you could check all of that at the door. And if you're looking for a reason to be optimistic, it's right there.